So the first movie I wanted to do for the random roulette thing is a movie that I've already talked about in the exact same show, and in this case, it's the Emoji Movie. The last time I reviewed it was during my first annual month, and you can probably see what I mean when I want to re-review it. Something about the way I worded it before and the way I came off just didn't sit right with me. I mean, that doesn't change how I view the movie as a whole, but I kinda wanted to give it an updated review to see if I can better elaborate on my arguments. Because yeah, this movie's still bad, but worst animated movie of all time bad? In a tech world known as Textopolis, emojis roam about and serve their jobs where they're scanned for text messages on a phone. We center on a meh emoji named Gene, but his problem is that he has a range of emotions and can't seem to stick to what he's been programmed with. But after a freak accident occurs on the job, and honestly one of the dumbest freak out scenes I've ever witnessed, Gene decides he needs to get reprogrammed in order to be a proper meh emoji. So he teams up with a high five emoji and a hacker emoji named Jailbreak to see if they can travel across the phone and make him a true meh. So just from summing up the story itself, I can already tell why so many people hated this movie. If there's one word used to describe the Emoji Movie, it's unoriginal. People have compared it to Wreck-It Ralph and the Lego Movie and Inside Out, and even the basic plot synopsis is something that we've heard of a million times before, the Be Yourself story. And that does lead to a really boring movie. Of all the rewatches I've had with this, I don't think I got any sort of enjoyment out of it outside of a couple jokes that I like, but I'll get into that in just a little bit. Either because it was just wasting my time with scenes that were pointless, or just dragging on certain jokes because they wanted to be funny. But honestly, compared to a lot of other animated movies I've seen, I will gladly take one that's boring over something that's completely frustrating. I live in a world where these are some of the worst animated films I've ever seen, and apparently this one is worse than them? Yeah, it's boring and completely unoriginal, but I wouldn't call it insultingly bad. I get why people don't like the corporate advertising, but it's not the worst thing about the movie for me, since I find a lot of the story beats and unoriginal themes to be worse. However, one thing about those scenes that I do hate is that they stop the movie. It's like just when we're trying to learn some new things about the characters, they suddenly have to stop doing that just to say, hey, remember Candy Crush? Remember Just Dance? Well, you can play these games on your phone right now. But again, I think these scenes would have been bad anyway if they were just original apps. Advertising is one thing, but stopping the movie like this makes it even worse, even if it does do something original. And when we do get parts like that which are just focused on characters, they're just insufferable. Like, what was the point of giving Gene's parents a subplot if it doesn't add anything to the movie or make me like these characters any more than I do, which is not at all. And yeah, now that I'm on the topic of characters, I may as well talk about them. I will say right now that out of all the characters, Smiler is the one I like the most. It's actually really fitting to have a character who's constantly smiling be the villain, and some of the scenes with her being intimidating with that huge creepy smile on her face is actually a bit unsettling, but in a good way. And plus Maya Rudolph does a great job with the performance. The rest of the characters, can't give a shit about. The parents serve nothing to this movie, even if I do kinda like their voice acting. The human character has no personality, High Five is annoying, Jailbreak is a really bad role model of girl power, but funny enough, my least favorite character out of all of them is Gene. Say what you want about High Five and Jailbreak, but at least they go through story arcs that develop them to an extent. Gene has nothing going for him other than just having different expressions and wanting to fit in, but ironically, it makes him the most selfish character in the movie, because wanting to fit in is all that he cares about. He doesn't really seem too concerned with the safety of Textopolis, and every time he tries to go through one of these apps, he hardly worries about what could possibly happen to the phone if the user thinks there's something wrong with it. Legit, the only time he worries about somebody else is when High Five gets deleted with the Just Dance app. Funny enough, leading to the only good scene in the whole movie.
Gene!
That's my friend down there. I'm not just gonna leave him to get deleted. What? What is it?
I've always just thought, you gotta look out for number one.
Well, what good is it to be number one if there aren't any other numbers?
Other than that, he hardly learns anything and just comes across as really selfish. Oh, and do you want to know the reason why he ends up becoming a meh emoji by the end? It's because Jailbreak rejected his romantic feelings. What a fucking simp. Oh, and the ending. Good lord, the ending. The worst scene in the entire movie. Yeah, even worse than the app scenes. Even worse than Gene's parents' shit. This scene single-handedly exemplifies every major issue with this movie. Spoilers if you actually care about this movie, but the user is about to reset everything on his phone after all the shit that happened, so Gene decides to put on a range of emojis while being scanned. The message is sent to the user's crush, and he decides to restore everything on the phone by unplugging it. Everything back, just from unplugging the phone. Ignoring that this kid didn't even need to come to this place when you can factory reset on your phone manually, but everything can't just magically come back because he restored the phone. In fact, doesn't doing that break the phone? This is perhaps the dumbest fake out death I've ever seen. Okay, so I've bitched about this movie for a bit, so why don't I despise it? Well, aside from my stance on the advertising and praising Smiler, I think the animation is really good. It was a smart move to give the emojis a lot of energy and fluid movement, given they usually only have one emotion. The colors are really nice, and I'll even admit the way some of these apps are designed are pretty creative. I love the Instagram app where every picture is a 3-dimensional time stop. And I'll even give the movie this, for as unfunny as it can be, it did get a few mild laughs out of me. I think the one part that made me laugh the most is when Jailbreak imagines of a horrible outcome for Jean in Candy Crush. Like, she must be that cold-hearted if that was her first thought. I also thought the emoticon joke was pretty cute, and the spam character that shows up in the Piracy app got a little laugh out of me. Otherwise, the rest of the jokes rely on lowbrow humor and haha, that emoji is saying something in the wrong emotion. So yeah, if it wasn't clear, I still think this movie is pretty bad. Do I think it's the worst? Not by a long shot. It's not a movie that's insultingly stupid like Norm of the North. It's not a movie that annoys me to death like Minions. It's not even so bad it's good like Food Fight. It's just a generic kind of bad movie that I can't even recommend. I may not hate it as much as most people, but perhaps that's not enough to take away from what is still a bad movie that just makes me go, meh.